hear a lot more of that tonight. Our Jeff Brown is down on the floor. Jeff?
Yeah, Judy, you and Gwen and I were talking earlier in the program about the one discordant note here so far having to do with Ron Paul supporters. So an interesting thing just happened. We were walking over to the main delegation to do an interview, and nobody was there. It turns out that much of the main delegation has walked out of the convention, and we've been told that some members of the Texas and several other delegations. And here with me is Gary Heyer from Minnesota, and you're one of the folks that's not very happy. What's going on? This is a rules issue, but it's affecting how delegates are counted?
Yeah, basically what's happening is that we are going to, grassroots is dead. What the Republican National Committee has done is that they've eliminated the possibility for activists to actually, like we did with Ron Paul. It will never happen again. This is not going to happen again because they're going to accept straw polls as the actual votes for delegates or for to represent the Republicans. And so, for example, in the county that I was in, there's no way we would have ever won. This wouldn't have happened.
So how organized is this among Ron Paul supporters? If there's a walkout of one delegation, are a lot of people involved in this at this point that could grow?
Yeah, there is actually talk in the blogosphere about forming another party.
About
forming another party.
So that would mean clearly impacting the support of Mitt Romney in this election.
It would drastically impact the support of Mitt Romney in this election.
You know, there's going to be a sense here from the party that, hey, this is all happening, it's a done deal now, and it's time to get in line, and if you support the party, you got to support the nominee.
Well, see, here's the problem, is that, you know, everyone's talking about Democrats and Republicans, and it's not about Democrats and Republicans, it's about creditors and debtors. And see, the Ron Paul people realize that, and it's not about Ron Paul, it's just about the ideas. And so the thing is that, you know, all of the creditors, the international bankers, are running the show, and then now they get to make the rules and choose who they. Before this thing started, they wanted to have the nominees choose the delegates. That's absolutely ridiculous. You know, so if they don't like the delegates, they get to choose the delegates, but then they back down in the last second. It's just absolutely corrupt, and it's just ridiculous.
All right, Gary Heyer of Minnesota, thanks a lot. Okay, that's a little taste of one part of what's going on down here. Back up to you guys.
Thanks, Jeff. It's really interesting, this idea of whole delegations walking out because of what seemed like a minor kerfluffle involving the Ron Paul delegates. He did have 177 delegates. What's going on here, David?
It's fascinating. I think we all, at least I, automatically assumed the Ron Paul people would be sort of invisibly folded into the Republican Party. That clearly is not happening. It's a lot of people, a lot of enthusiasm, and a lot of people. It raises the possibility that the Paulites could become the Ralph Naders of the Republican Party this race, and the interesting spotlight will shift to Paul himself. Does he tell these people, no, let's support Mitt Romney, or does he say, no, we are something different? And it'll be fascinating to see how he reacts to this.
It's interesting to hear Jeff's guest say it's not about Ron Paul, it's about the ideas. It's not a personality issue at all. And he said there's talk in the blogosphere, Mark, of another party. He talked about what is happening is absolutely corrupt. There's clearly more than just momentary upset here.
There is, Judy. I don't know how deep or wide it is, but this goes back to a question of who does pick the delegate as the candidate. And if somebody runs under a candidate's name, I think a candidate really does, all due respect to the Ron Paul people, a candidate has that final call. If you're going to run for election in a primary, committed to David Brooks, and you are the local troublemaker or whatever else, David Brooks has a right to pick that slate. And I really do think this is a problem that is a real one. What they're arguing about is how Barack Obama actually won the nomination in 2008, and that's through caucuses. The Paul people showed up in caucuses at great numbers, and the Romney people, it's a measure of passion and intensity and appeal, and that's where Barack Obama beat Hillary Clinton, and that's where Ron Paul made his great showing.
I'm one of the students of the music that they play at these things, and they're playing, I want you to want me, I want you to love me. It's not happening with the Ron Paul, some people tonight. Subliminal message, but maybe not so subliminal. Well, we have been led to believe that this was kind of settled, that Ron Paul was not going to make a big deal out of it, but it looks like his fans are going to make a big deal out of it.
And if you heard the language the gentleman from Minnesota used about international bankers,
Yeah.
if that's your suspicion, then Mitt Romney is not exactly your answer.
Yeah.
And so that suggests some of the depth of the philosophical and emotional differences.
The question I've always had about the Ron Paul voters there is whether they really are Republicans, whether they actually show up, or whether they would just stay home and it would be a wash.
Well, I mean, if you go to a Ron Paul event, if you hear Ron Paul's position endorsed by one corner of the room when he talked about when he talked about Afghanistan and Iraq and United States militarism, and another part of the room when he talked about government being smaller and individual freedom, you'd hear the